Sonny's Diner is a small but popular restaurant located in the heart of Colorado, standing out from its competitors. Jessica Price, a 23-year-old waitress, had been working there for 3 years. She worked long shifts, saving the money she earned for her younger siblings, Johnny and Olivia, who were still in high school. Life had never been easy for them since they lost their parents in a tragic accident. But no matter how tired she was, Jessica always greeted her customers with a warm smile. That evening, a heavy snowstorm loomed in the air, and the diner was nearly empty. As Jessica was cleaning the counter, the door suddenly swung open. A tall man, his black suit covered in snowflakes, walked in. 2 serious-looking security guards followed closely behind him. Jessica's breath caught in her throat. The man entering was none other than President Donald Trump. The customers' eyes widened in astonishment. Some started whispering, and others quickly grabbed their phones. Trump shook the snow off his suit and walked over to the counter, lightly smiling as he asked, "Good evening, young lady. Are you still serving coffee at this hour?" Jessica froze for a moment, but quickly recovered and stepped back. "Yes, sir. Would you like anything else with it?" she asked. "A hot coffee and a donut, please," Trump replied. Jessica hurriedly prepared the order and placed it in front of him. As President Trump reached for his wallet, he realized it wasn't with him. One of his Secret Service agents noticed and quietly reached for his own wallet. But before he could pull out the money, Jessica made a split-second decision. "Don't worry, sir. This one's on me," she said gently. Trump chuckled lightly. "That's very generous of you, young lady, but I can't accept it." Jessica smiled back. "Just the coffee and donuts, sir. Please consider it a small thank you for your services." Meanwhile, a customer recorded the moment on their phone, unknowingly starting a chain of events that would change Jessica's life forever. The next morning, Jessica showed up for work, unaware of the storm brewing on the internet. Her video had gone viral on social media, sparking heated debates. Some people praised her kindness, while others accused her of favoring a political figure. When she entered the diner, the manager, Mr. Reynolds, called her into his office. He was standing there with his arms crossed, his face stern and his eyes filled with disappointment. "Jessica, do you realize what you've done?" he snapped, furrowed her brow. "I just served a customer, sir. You gave the president a free meal. Our owner is furious. People are threatening to boycott us." Jessica's heart sank. "But, sir, it was just coffee and a donut. It doesn't matter. You've thrown our restaurant into the middle of a political storm," Mr. Reynolds shouted. Jessica's stomach tightened, and she felt her throat close up. "After all these years, are you firing me?" Mr. Reynolds sighed. "I have no other choice. You're fired." In shock and with a broken heart, Jessica left the diner. The cold wind felt like knives against her skin. For the first time in her life, a small act of kindness had cost her her job. When she got home, her phone rang incessantly. News outlets wanted interviews. Strangers were debating about her, and trolls were filling her inbox with hateful comments. Some saw her as a hero, while others accused her of seeking attention. But nothing hurt more than having to tell Olivia and Johnny the truth. That evening, she sat down with her siblings in their small apartment, forcing a smile as she spoke. "Today I lost my job, kids." Johnny's face changed. "What? Why?" "I just helped someone, but my boss didn't like it." Olivia clenched her fists angrily. "That's so unfair." Jessica took a deep breath. "Yeah, it is." The next morning, Jessica's phone rang urgently. She answered groggily. "Hello?" A deep voice responded. "This is Donald Trump." Sat up straight. President Trump, I heard what happened. I'm sorry you lost your job because of me." "It's not your fault, sir. It was my choice," she said, still in disbelief. "I want to make this right. How about we meet?" Jessica hesitated. "Was this real?" "Of course, sir," she finally replied. That afternoon, a luxurious black SUV pulled up in front of her small apartment. As she got into the car, she had no idea that her life was about to change forever. The journey to the White House felt like a dream. When she arrived at the Oval Office, Trump greeted her warmly. "I want to make it up to you," he said. "Would you like to work for me?" Jessica blinked in disbelief. For you? Work? Doing what? I always need hard-working, honest people on my team. We can find a position for you. Her mind was spinning. Just yesterday, she had lost her job, and now the president was offering her one. Trump smiled. Take your time to think about it, young lady. Thank you, sir. Jessica nodded. When she returned home, Johnny and Olivia were ecstatic. You have to take this offer, Jessica. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. Jessica sat down, still trying to process everything. I lost my job yesterday, and today the president is offering me a job. Is this real? Johnny laughed. Maybe life is giving you a second chance. Jessica smiled, ruffling his hair. Maybe you're right. That night, after hours of deep thought, she made her decision. The next morning, she called the White House. Mr. President, I would like to accept your offer. Trump laughed. Welcome to the team, Jessica. And so, Jessica's new life began. Her new job was as a secretary on the president's personal assistant team. It was a huge responsibility, but she wasn't afraid. After all, she had fought for her siblings and endured hardships for years. While working in the fast-paced environment, she got to see a different side of Trump than what was shown in the media. He was genuinely passionate about helping people and was personally involved in many projects. Though her life had changed, not everyone welcomed the shift. Some of her old friends distanced themselves, and social media remained tumultuous. One evening, as she read through hateful comments, Olivia sat next to her. You can't please everyone, Jessica. Just be yourself. Jessica laughed. True strength came from sticking to her own values, and now she knew that. While working as a secretary, Jessica met people from all walks of life. Veterans, heads of state, single mothers, and families fighting various diseases. Each one had a touching story that moved her. One afternoon, while she was organizing paperwork at a veterans charity event, she spotted a familiar face in the crowd. It was her old boss, Mr. Reynolds. He avoided eye contact, looking ashamed. Jessica hesitated, but then walked over to him. Mr. Reynolds, he sighed. Jessica, I didn't expect to see you here. With a warm, gentle smile, Jessica said, everyone might need a helping hand. Reynolds lowered his head. We lost the restaurant. The boycott ruined us. I'm sorry for what I did. Jessica nodded. I forgive you, Mr. Reynolds. His apology stayed with her for days. The once tough man had become humble. It reminded her that people could change in strange ways. That evening, she shared the story with Johnny. I forgave him, she said. Johnny raised his eyebrows in surprise. You know what? You're better than me. Jessica smiled. Holding on to this anger doesn't do any good. Later that night, as she lay in bed, she checked her phone. News websites had published an article about her. Former Sonny's Diner employee fired over Trump incident, now secretary to the president. This time, the comments were different. People appreciated her difficult journey and saw her as an inspiration. She smiled. It seemed that kindness really did come back to people, in one way or another. A few days later, Jessica was invited to a gala at Trump Tower. She was surrounded by influential people at an event she never imagined attending. As she walked through the grand hall in her elegant red dress, President Trump approached her. Jessica, the work you've done is incredible. She smiled. Thank you, sir. It's an honor. Later in the evening, a wealthy businessman approached her. Hello, young lady. I appreciate what you've done. Have you ever thought about starting your own company? Jessica's breath caught in her throat. My own company? The man nodded. I can help you with funding. She couldn't believe it. What started as a small act of kindness was now turning into a much bigger adventure. That night, she couldn't sleep from excitement. The next morning, she called the president's office. Mr. President, I want to start a company that helps struggling workers. Do you think it's possible? Trump smiled. With your determination, absolutely. A few months later, Jessica was introduced to a team to help turn her thoughts into reality. Beacon of Hope was born. The company focused on providing job opportunities, vocational training, and financial support for low-income workers. As she sat in her new office, her eyes filled with tears. A year ago, she was fighting for her brothers and herself, and now She was entrusted with helping others, and it all started with a small act of kindness. The company's first official event was packed. Thousands of people came for help, and Jessica personally supported everyone. She saw an elderly woman struggling to carry a food box. "Let me help you, ma'am," she said. The woman smiled. "Thank you, dear. You remind me of my granddaughter." A reporter approached her. "Jessica, you used to be like them. How does it feel to be on this side now?" Jessica smiled. "I know what it feels like to struggle. I want to be the person I needed back then." The story went viral worldwide and touched millions. Donations started pouring in for the company, and even notable celebrities wanted to support it. One day, the phone rang. "Jessica, this is Keanu Reeves. I heard about what you've done, and I love what you've accomplished. I want to support you." Jessica was stunned. "Are you joking?" Keanu laughed. "I'm serious. I've been through tough times too, and I'd like to do my part." Within days, Keanu became a major donor and raised awareness by participating in the company's charity events. Jessica realized that using one's success to bring hope to others made the world a better place. Her journey had started with a coffee and a donut, but now it was changing lives. However, not everyone was pleased with her success. Her former colleague Bella went public. She only became famous because of the president. "Maybe all of this was part of a plan," she said dismissively. "She's not special." Jessica sighed. No matter how much good she did, some people would always be against her. Olivia supported her. There will always be haters. You need to focus on the people you're helping. That night, Jessica received an email from an elderly veteran. "Thank you, Jessica. Because of you, I have a job and a home. You saved my life." Jessica blushed. That's what mattered to her. Excitement filled her when a call came from the White House. The next day, she was invited to the Oval Office. Trump greeted her warmly. "You're doing amazing things, Jessica." Jessica blushed. "Sir, this happened because of the opportunity you gave me." Trump shook his head. "Actually, you gave yourself that opportunity. You chose kindness, despite the difficulties. That's true leadership." 2 years later, Jessica was awarded the Presidential Freedom Medal for her extraordinary contributions to civil rights. When she stepped on stage, she spoke from the heart. "2 years ago, I lost my job because of a small act of kindness. I was lynched by the media, and I thought my life was over. But life can turn in unexpected ways. When you choose what's right, everything can change." The room echoed with applause. Backstage, Johnny ran up and hugged her. "You deserve this, Jessica. You deserve it." Jessica smiled. "We all deserve a second chance." The company continued to grow, helping hundreds of thousands of people worldwide rise again. One day, an unexpected visitor arrived. Bella. Bella looked worried. "Jessica, I need help." Jessica looked at her. Their past was complicated, but she listened. Bella had lost her job and was going through tough times. Jessica laughed. "Of course, old friend. Everyone deserves a second chance in this life." Bella's eyes welled up. "Really? Will you help me?" Jessica nodded. "That's exactly what we do here." As Bella filled out the help application, Jessica felt a sense of peace. Forgiveness wasn't weakness, it was strength. One evening, Jessica sat on her balcony, reflecting on what she had been through. From losing her job to reaching the White House, facing hatred, and becoming an inspiration to hundreds of thousands, her adventure had been incredible. Johnny sat next to her. "Do you regret it?" Jessica laughed. "Not for a second. If I hadn't lost that job, none of this would have happened." Johnny shook his head. "Life's funny, isn't it?" Jessica smiled. "Yes, a small act of kindness changes everything." As she looked at the city lights, she knew her story was just beginning. Years later, Jessica's company had helped millions. She had met world leaders, formed new friendships, and changed lives. One evening, she received a letter. It was from former President Donald Trump. "Jessica, your struggle has become the beginning of an unstoppable force. Keep changing the world." Her eyes filled with tears. That night, she sat with Olivia and thought about her journey. "If you could go back, would you still give him that coffee?" Olivia asked. Jessica laughed. "Every time." And in that moment, she understood once again just how valuable kindness was for humanity.